Yes, hello everyone. Welcome back to WD18, the Watford fan channel. It's great to be back. It's great to be joined by Sam, Ucko, Charlie Zazzera to talk all things Watford. After I know I was a little bit upbeat there. I'm just happy to be back on the streets, to be honest with you. But it was it wasn't a great day yesterday. Sam made the trip from Hertfordshire all the way up to Middlesbrough. What time did he set off, Sam, yesterday?
It was actually from Birmingham rather than Hertfordshire, which saved me about an hour. So even more fair play to those who went from Watford. Set off at about 8 in the morning. It was about a 4-hour trip up. So long one for pretty much nothing in the end.
Yeah, and as you know, great effort from Sam and all the Watford fans that travelled yesterday. So it was a long schlep up to Middlesbrough. But if you haven't seen Sam's instant match reaction, make sure you go and check that out after this video, or jump onto that now. Sam basically gave his thoughts on the way back on the train, and we'll get into more detailed analysis today about the performance, but also looking at some talk around Slaven Bilic at the moment and where you find yourselves in that debate. Brit Assombalonga, Andrew French has confirmed that he will be returning to the club on a 6-month option to buy deal. And then Antony and Hoedt. There's lots to get into. Charlie, how are you getting on, mate? I know we were just talking off air about a pretty dismal day yesterday, but have you got over it? I know we don't like to overreact, do we, on the channel, but it wasn't great.
No, it wasn't great at all. No, it's good to have you back, Jacob. How's the hamstrings after?
Do you know what? I went for a little jog and a stretch before I jumped on the stream just to make sure we'll be okay.
Yeah, it'll probably pop halfway through. No, yesterday was a hard watch on the stream, listening to Radio T side, Middlesbrough fans and commentators celebrating, and trying to watch back some of those goals, including the second. So tough, but yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks to everyone who's joined us this evening. We'd love to get your thoughts. Let us know in the comment section, and we'll put all of your comments on screen, and we'll chat about them as they come in. And make sure to follow us on socials as well at WD18 fans. So Sam, look, I'll throw it over to you first. You were there yesterday. Let's just. I know you mentioned your reaction today, but now you've had the day to think about it and just kind of process the performance in the game. What's your main takeaway from yesterday's defeat?
I think this Watford side, to be fair, it's nothing new. I just think our sort of biggest downfall is we lack any form of consistency. It's almost like we take a step forward and then we take 3 steps back, sort of every single month. I think the last 3 games really captures what it's been like to be a Watford fan this season. We had that Blackpool game with Toby Adeyemo scoring that goal, and there was that feeling of excitement and a bit more confidence looking up towards the automatic places before we I've just seen the toilet.
I've got to get it
in. We've spoken about this before. I'm not actually on the toilet. In my room at uni, I sort of have to sit by the door to get the best sort of Wi-Fi connection. So that explains it.
It would be pretty apt if that was after yesterday's performance that you were sitting on the toilet. But anyway, so carry on.
Yeah, sorry. Where was I? I've lost myself now.
In terms of the performance, the consistency.
Yeah, so we sort of have the Blackpool game where there's confidence, and then last week the Rotherham game. I said there were some encouraging signs, but ultimately 2 points dropped, and then sort of we lose. We were abysmal again yesterday, and we just can't seem to put a run of form together, whether that's down to the players, Slaven Bilic, the coaching staff, whatever. There's a lot of mitigating factors in there as well, but it's just so frustrating because it was an opportunity yesterday against a playoff rival to show our credentials, and we failed to do that.
What was the mood like in the away end, Sam?
Miserable, to be honest with you. From minute one, the players just didn't seem up for it. I think Cameron Archer completely ran riot against us yesterday, and in the first 2 minutes, I can't remember who it was. It might have been Ferreira missed a 50-50 challenge against one of the Middlesbrough players. And I think from that moment, we knew where it was ultimately going, because we've seen it so many times this season against Blackpool away, Blackburn away, Millwall away. And ultimately, it was the same story. So, yeah, it was just quite a miserable away end.
And before I throw it over to Charlie, there was someone special behind you yesterday, Sam.
Yes, Ben Manga was behind me in the away end. At least for the first half an hour until we conceded the first goal, and he went inside straight after that. I assume he probably went up to the director's box or wherever else he might have sat. He was on his phone throughout the pretty much the whole game, and at times he did seem to get a bit frustrated, but it was good to see him in amongst the Watford fans as well.
Did he whisper in your ear, can you play centre midfield?
No, it seems now it's going to be right back. No Jeremy Ngakia, now no João Ferreira. With Gaspar carries on in the midfield.
And Gosling.
Dan Gosling as well. I reckon I could do a job, to be fair.
Ucko to the Orns, exclusive from WDA. Charlie, you said we've got kind of like a group chat and we kind of put our thoughts like as stuff's happening with Watford. And you kind of mentioned about just not overreacting over the performance. But why do you think there was an overreaction? Why do you think fans are so annoyed about the performance that we saw yesterday? Is it as Sam said, is it just a case of the consistency?
Yeah, I think there's just big expectations from Watford fans from where we should be. I think when we're talking about those 3 games, I probably don't think our level was that different for all of them. Yesterday looked bad because we played a lot better team, but I don't think we pulled up any trees against Blackpool or Rotherham. I think Blackpool were the worst team, Rotherham were a bit better, and then Middlesbrough a lot better. Yeah, Sam's bang on with the consistency. I just think after a game, we need to look at the players that are available and who we've got. Yesterday, we've got Gaspar centre midfield, Bakuna centre midfield again. Chowdhury is playing as a right of a back 3. It's all over the place. And I think where we're a bit annoyed is because we've seen like a game against Norwich where we've really upped our levels to get that win. But I just don't think that's kind of sustainable for where we're at. So I don't know. My dog loves me the most after a Watford win because I just take him out for a walk straight away. But Twitter is a bad place. But I just think we do have to have some context of what we're dealing with. And we had Keenan Davies back, and we were toilet. But yeah, just be calm. We're still in the promotion hopes. Unless hopefully we can keep getting players back and the performance level is going to improve.
Sam, it's a weird one with as Charlie mentions, the lineup. It has just been, pardon me, all over the shop at the moment in terms of, obviously, Bilic hasn't been helped with the injuries. But it felt like yesterday, despite obviously Gaspar playing in centre mid, you've then got Chowdhury at centre back. I know it sounds weird, but bar that, you would say it wasn't a completely, all over the shop team that we've seen in previous weeks. I think obviously when you compare it to Norwich away, we have moved towards a more organised or more recognised lineup is probably the right words. But do you feel for Bilic at this point? You look at the team we've got at the moment and what he's having to use. Some people coming into this season said we have one of the strongest squads. We haven't been helped with injuries, but should the performances be better with the players we've got on the pitch at the moment, or is that kind of what we should expect?
I think it's a bit of both, to be fair. I don't think it helps, as I say, when you're losing 50-50s in the first 5 minutes of a game and don't really look like you're posing any threat. We got bullied by Middlesbrough all over. And how many times have I used that word this season, bullied? Because ultimately that's what Watford have been every week against most sides in this league, bar a few exceptions. I feel sorry for him with respect that it's still, I know the situation is improving and you're right that it was more of a recognisable Watford side that we saw yesterday, but the injury crisis is still prevalent and João Pedro is still out. We've got so many players who are still going to be coming back from injury. And I don't think it'll be really fair to judge Slaven Bilic until the new signings have settled in, until everyone's back fit. But that being said, performances do have to improve. I think Slaven Bilic probably has to look at himself as well, because sound like I was getting emotional there. Don't
go, Slav.
I feel like yesterday, we'll talk about it, but setting up the way we did with Hamza Chowdhury at centre-back was probably the wrong decision in hindsight. So everything needs to improve, but we do need to give him time for everyone to sort of settle back in.
Yeah. It's really weird one at the moment. Charlie, where do you fall on that? Should manager be... I mean, the thing is, when Edwards came in, we kind of were... The mindset was give him the time, let him make some mistakes, or let the team evolve. Feels like Bilic has come in and the way we're viewing the head coach has changed again. Watford's a bizarre club, isn't it? I mean, when Edwards was here, we're kind of like, look, give him time, give him space, let him do what he needs to do. It'll work, or hopefully it'll work. With Bilic, it's like results have to come. So where do you fall on that? Should we be demanding more from the coach? Should we be demanding more from the players? Is it a collective?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a collective. Don't get me wrong. I do think Bilic made some mistakes yesterday. I thought our centre midfield was non-existent at times with Gaspar and Bacuna. I think not having Chowdhury in there was a big mistake, and I think we made a lot of changes. Obviously, Keenan Davis is only coming back, so he is trying to do the best he can. I'm definitely backing him, like the pedigree of manager he has, and I think we need to try and recruit for what he wants and give him the tools and give him a proper second half of the season. Hopefully, these players can come back. But yeah, I think he's making mistakes, but he can't account for Martin's missing a sitter, or he can't account for Kamara not getting to that ball for the first goal, or the 8 mistakes for the second goal. So that second goal was a killer just before half time. But yeah, we've got to back him, because any sort of change now would be absolutely crazy. I think let's just back him, try and give him what he needs, give him to the end of the season and see where we're at.
Just on that, Charlie, as well, I'm not sure if either of you saw Slaven Bilic's post-match interview as well, which I thought was really telling, because, you know, we've seen him, I think, frustrated. We've seen him quite down. But I think yesterday he seemed angry more than anything else. I think he was fuming with particularly, you know, Hassan Kamara. He didn't single him out as an individual, but it was clear who he was inferring to, because it's difficult as a manager. Yes, he can get stuff wrong, but when you're working towards something all week, and he said the preparation was good, you can't account for individual errors like that. And I think that's why he was perhaps so frustrated yesterday.
Well, the summary, as you say, Sam, I mean, what I will give to Bilic is I appreciate the honesty and his openness in post-matches, because he really doesn't hide away from his comments. And basically the summary of the whole interview, if no one's seen it, is there's basically no point talking about a system or formation when the players can't pass or make individual errors. And Sam, when you listen to that interview, I guess he's pretty much bang on with it, really. I mean, there's only so much a head coach can really do. But are we maybe, as I go back to the expectation, are we expecting too much from the players we've got?
But it's individual. It's basics of football, though. That's the thing. You know, you mentioned slipping yesterday. I know that perhaps is unlucky, but every player was slipping all over the shop yesterday when the Middlesbrough players weren't. There's ball watching with the second goal, players stepping out when they're not meant to. Kamara with that first goal, that doesn't take, you know, a world-class player to recognise how to deal with those situations. I think we have to be demanding more of the players in those cases, because that's not good enough at all. And the aspirations are that we get promoted this season. We won't go up if we play like that every week. We won't go up if we make those mistakes. And if we carry on like that in the Premier League, we'll get battered every single week.
Speaking of Prem quality, Kavi Patel, good to see you, Kavi. He says only João Pedro, Loser, Chowdhury and Sarr once every 4 games of Prem quality. Surin, good to see you, Surin. Kamara's heart isn't in it. Laura says, good to see you, Laura. Same issues regardless of the head coach.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel like a bit of a broken record, Charlie. It kind of feels like we are saying the same things. I feel like when you look at the teams who played this season, maybe the bottom half teams or teams rather, who are outside the playoffs, you do feel like we're in control. Not control, but you feel like we've got a good chance. As soon as we've come up against some really good teams this season, maybe bar Sheffield United and Burnley at the start of the season, we haven't played great.
I don't know. I disagree a bit with that, because we won away at Norwich. We've beaten Burnley, beaten Sheffield United, beat Middlesbrough. I know they're a bit off form. Sarr missed the penalty against West Brom. I actually think we're a bit better when we're playing a team who are more attacking, because we've got more space in behind. And if Martin scores that goal early yesterday, it's a completely different game. But the rest of the performance was absolutely shocking. So I just think we're nowhere near the level that we need to be to not even get automatic promotions. We need to try and cling on to a playoff place at the minute, because there's so many good teams. Middlesbrough, West Brom, you've got teams like Millwall who are their levels are a lot bigger than us. So we just need to get players back and just try and hit a consistent run. But it's just so difficult to do that when we're playing so many different teams every single week. Different players dropping out, new signings coming in. The big word's consistency, and we've had 0 all season.
Oh, that's an interesting one. Well, Sam, what do you think of Charlie's comments there? Because for me, I do see that, but at the same time, we beat Norwich twice. We've lost at Swansea twice. So it feels like we can beat good sides on occasion, but I don't know if it's a mentality thing to actually put a run together and make a statement to the league. I felt like don't want to harp on about other seasons, but I just remember with 14-15, it was like there was so many players in that team who had a point to prove, hadn't played in the Premier League before. It was like this burning desire to basically just get into the Premier League and make a statement that the amount of, even 2012-13 there was a similar vibe, but you felt like one result that stands out to me, although we didn't get promoted. Do you remember we went away to Hull in 2012-13? It was like second versus third, and Deeney scored a great goal.
Someone scored a free kick that day. I'm trying to think.
I think it was like a 1-0 win, and Deeney scored, and I just remember thinking, Jesus Christ, that is a huge win, and the whole league going to be like, wow. Middlesbrough at home, Igalo's goal, and Troy scoring. I don't know. It's just, I don't feel like there's the same, we don't know. I don't know. But I don't know if there's the same mentality, Sam. What do you think? When you look at the team we've got at the moment, is there that desire to go, you know what? I know it's a little bit, it's a little bit old school with the desire and stuff like that, but I don't know, more of a mentality thing.
Definitely. And the word here that I'm seeing so much in the comments is leadership, because there isn't any leadership in this Watford side. We just let go of our biggest leader, arguably, which is a huge mistake in William Troost-Ekong. I'm not saying that if we had Troost-Ekong in the team yesterday, we would have won the game. But I guarantee you that he'd be one of the more likely players who would have got a hold of some of those players and got them to wake up. So I'll say it here. We haven't had a proper captain since Deeney left, to be fair, as well. Tom Cleverley isn't on the pitch at the moment, but there's no one who can step up. There are players who have shown glimpses of leadership, such as Daniel Bachmann, but no player is really taking games by the scruff of the neck. And I think another reason why we are in this situation is because of the culture that's been built at this football club, because players now know that they can get away with anything because it's the manager who'll take the blame. And when things aren't going well, there's no player thinking, hold on a second, we really need to turn this around or our jobs are on the line, because it's not them, it's the manager's job who's on the line. And this is why Slaven Bilic has to stay, because a precedent has to be set that the manager's going to be backed regardless, and players can't get away with those performances like yesterday.
Charlie, I'll throw it similar question over to you. What do you make of that? What Sam said?
Yeah, it's just so much change. Like there's no real togetherness, and there's like we had Emmanuel Dennis playing for us at the start of the season. Do you know what I mean? We've had more new players come in. We've had how many squads in 4 or 5 seasons? Different squads from Premier League, Championship, Premier League, back down to the Championship. The turnover and churn of players. So it's hard. I think everyone's correct about the leadership. Hopefully Ryan Porteous can come in and bring a tiny bit of that. Looking forward to seeing him in yellow. But yeah, we just need some consistency. Please, let's just stick with Slaven. Let's get players back. And I just want to see a similar-ish 11 week in, week out, betting to know each other, building on patterns. Do you know what I mean? Trying to fight for each other. It sounds right about the culture, but hopefully there's going to be some kind of change with that. With Ben Manga coming in, he's going to bring in his players. Again, I know it's changed, and I think at the minute it could be really tough and we might not go up. I just don't know if that's a bad thing. Maybe it's unrealistic to think that there's not going to be this continuous change under the Pozzos.
Time will tell. I mean, Ben Manga's been kind of lauded as this miracle worker, but I've certainly been like, really hope he comes in and he gets his players in. I mean, it's number one, it's going to take time. I mean, the guy signed a 5-year deal, so the proof is going to be a bit further down the timeline. But Sam, I don't know. Are we kind of, or I might be guilty of it as well, we kind of penning our hopes on Ben Manga to basically not save us, probably a bit of a stretch. We are fourth in the league, right? It's not. Yeah. It's not curtains by any stretch, but certainly to change, you say, the culture, and it's probably a bigger question, but do you think we're pinning too much expectation on Ben Manga? He was in Germany for 35 years. He's first time working outside of England in a new role, actually promoted from his previous role from head scout to technical director, I think now. Is it asking a lot?
I think we need to be careful not to ask too much too quickly of him. I don't think the expectation's too big, because if you don't have big expectations in football, then what's the point? But we can't expect, Ben Manga to come in, have one transfer window, which will see us get promoted, because I think this team, with the players that need to come in and the players that we need to get rid of, it might take 3 or 4 or 5 transfer windows even. So we need to be patient in that respect. But the expectation, in 5 years' time, if we haven't progressed and we're sort of still in the same position, whether that's still in the Championship or being up and down in the Premier League, then that's when we can probably question Ben Manga and go, well, what have you actually changed here? But for now, I think it's just a case of being patient, hoping that Pozzo's back in, and hoping that he's able to bring in the players that he feels will help the team, along with Slaven Bilic.
I'll throw this one over to you, Charlie. William in the comment section. Do you think we're missing partnerships like Deeney and Nagalo, or wing back and winger working well, like Kiko and Sarr, for example? And the lineup changes prevent this?
100%. Like football, all about partnerships all over the pitch, from the goalkeeper getting it to the centre halves trying to play out the back, two midfielders. How good were Kiko and Sarr when we got promoted a couple of seasons ago? Deeney and Nagalo, Deeney and Vidra. Yeah, like partnerships are important. You want to be playing with these players week in, week out, knowing their movements, know how they play, creating patterns. And we've got absolutely no chance of that because of the churn. There's one question that I asked Sam last is kind of related to this in a kind of agree or disagree, but I'll ask Jacob while we're kind of talking about it. But do you agree or disagree that if we don't go up, Slaven Bilic will be our head coach at the start of next season?
I don't think he will be.
That's a
Personally.
problem.
Yeah, but maybe that's just, I'm just kind of judging on what I've seen before, the stuff that's been happening this season. We've seen it before. It happened at West Brom. Don't know. I can't. I'd be surprised. I also think, don't know whether the Manga thing threw him off a little bit, but I thought it was really interesting when he kind of not called him out, but definitely acknowledged the interview. Do you remember when he was one of his first press conferences after Manga joined the club, and Manga had said, the automatics are gone, which they are now, but not mathematically, but pretty much. And Bilic called him out, and I thought at the time, God, he's ballsy. But I guess Bilic knows that Watford probably need him more than he needs us at the moment, potentially. I don't know. I'd be surprised if he was here. I'd like him to be here for sure. I don't want him to go, but I would be surprised if I'm honest.
Yeah, I think that's where the problem comes, and we're only speaking from what we've seen previously. But if a new manager comes in next season, new churn of players, do you know what I mean? So
cycle continues.
Yeah, so if there's any way that Slav could stay even next season, if we don't go up, I'd be content with that.
Yeah, for sure. Before we get on to some transfer talk, let's have a little look through your comments and we'll throw it over to the guys. Lorraine, on Sam's comment, completely agree with the culture. And to be honest, what does it say to the players other than Richarlison, who has left and never done anything for themselves? Dan says, I'll be very surprised if we make the playoffs now. The players know that they can play like that and get away with performances like that, and the manager will be sacked for it, change every week. Dan goes on to say, can't help but think if we lose to Reading on Saturday, Bilic will be gone too, and we'll be right back at the start again, just a continuous loop with this club. Bloody hope not. That would be interesting. There was another comment up here. Same issues regardless of head coach. Charlotte, we may have a strong squad on paper, however, we're less than the sum of our parts. Injuries aren't helping, but they're not an excuse for a wildly inconsistent performance. I think that's a pretty much bang-on summary, Charlotte, to be honest with you. Look, halfway through the show, let's throw over some transfer talk. So the big one that's come in today, really, just came out of nowhere, is Brit Assombalonga, who was at Watford over 10 years ago, who was joined on a 6-month Sam's laughing. A 6-month deal, which Watford had the option to extend at the end of the season. I'll throw it over to you first, Sam. Just initial thoughts. One that came out from Turkey. He had a contract terminated in Turkey. He's come over to Watford on a 6-month deal. It seems like this will give Watford the option to send Vakoum Bio out on loan to free up a space in the striker. Slaven Bilic said he wanted to bring in a striker this January window. What's your overall thoughts on this deal?
Yeah, I wasn't laughing because, I do think this could perhaps be a smart move. It's just so funny the way that Watford Football Club works, isn't it? Just out of nowhere, Brit Assombalonga joining us. I think not only Bayo, I think it is a good indicator that Raymond and I won't have any involvement in the second half of the season or perhaps ever again for Watford. I think he's a player. We speak about championship experience. We speak about leadership. If he can hit the ground running, then perhaps, he could offer us that. He's someone who came through the academy. He's someone who knows the club already, albeit Was he here pre-Pozzo, or was it the first year of the Pozzos?
I think it was just before the Pozzos, yeah.
So albeit it is a very different club, but he gets what it's all about. So look, I think it could probably be a clever move, and I'd say it might just be an upgrade on what we have in terms of Manai and Bayo.
So he left in 2013 from Watford. So just at the end of the first Pozzo season.
Yeah.
But he only played 4 times for us and went out on quite a few loans, I think. I remember him going to Wealdstone and a couple of other like lower league clubs. Southend was another one. But Charlie, my overall thoughts on this one is, as Sam says, player knows the club, player knows the league, and has scored goals in the league, which I guess is something. But he has an injury record, and is probably, I don't want to write someone off, but probably past his best football. So where do you sit on the opinion scale of Assombalonga? I think it's important to stress that we won't be writing off a player before he even kicks a ball, but just your opinions on the deal as a whole.
Yeah, I've got to admit, when I heard, I wasn't the most excited. Brit, if you're watching, I hope that you're going to score the winner at Wembley and we'll be doing a Assombalonga conga around Wembley. But yeah, I think the injury prone kind of was a red flag to me. Just looking at his seasons, he scored 5 in 2021 in the Championship, 11 before that, 14, 15 before that. So he has scored goals, but my thing is, I just don't know where he fits in. Like, if we're going to stick with Slaven's favoured formation, which we think is a 4-2-3-1, we've only got one striker. Bilic said he wanted to bring in one striker. Henrik Arouche came in. So we thought that one was done, and by all accounts, we're excited about him and we think he could be a really good foil to Keenan Davis. I don't think Assombalonga is going to be, I don't think he's as good as Davis. Are we going to revert to 2 up front? I mean, I know we've discussed about a video about what would our best 11 would be. I don't know if it would be it. And then my other point was, we were really excited in the last couple of weeks that all the youngsters have been given a chance. Adeyemo came on yesterday and he had an effort that was really close going in, just on the edge of the box. He had another one where he had a good bit of movement and a shot save. So he didn't have the worst cameo. So I just thought, I think if we do the business that Bilic wants and gets a winger in and another centre midfielder in the next 2 days, it'll be like, fair enough. We're improving maybe from Bayo or from Adeyemo. But if it's just a nice to have instead of a need, I just think we could have had that Adeyemo as that option if we wanted. Is it going to cut off his opportunities now? So, look, who knows? I hope he comes and hits the ground running. I'm just a bit wary, to be honest.
I think it's certainly the one thing is it's sending a message to Facundo Bayo that Bilic really doesn't rate him. I mean, not in the squad yesterday, bringing in a free agent today. I mean, Sam, that one is, I guess that is the discussion for another day, just the whole Bayo deal with it being £5 million. And look, nothing against the guy, but he really, apart obviously some crucial goals, but really hasn't been up to the value of £5 million when you think that where that could have been spent. But Laura says a lot about our recruitment policy that Bayo and I will be going out on loan. So the biggest thing about this transfer for me, Sam, it does feel like it's 2013 or 2014 again. I mean, I actually have to pinch myself that we were in 2023. Like 10 years late from when do you remember when Brit actually left Watford and he was at Forest for like £15 million, I think? I thought at that time, wow, like, oh my God, I'd absolutely love for him to come back. This one, absolutely out of nowhere. I don't think anyone could have really predicted this one either, Sam.
No, as I say, when I laughed before, it's just the weird world of supporting Watford, isn't it? Look, my I don't want to say my only problem. My main problem with Bayo is the price tag, because if he didn't cost £5 million, I think we all probably would have said it's a smart bit of business, considering he scored some huge goals for us this season. And if we do go up, or if we do get into the playoffs, I think Bayo will be a player who will have to thank for that. But look, I mean, I haven't seen Assombalonga play football for 2 years now since we played them. Was it in Middlesbrough? It was at
in 2021.
Yeah, so I haven't seen much of him since then, to be honest with you. So I can't tell whether he's going to be better than Bayo or Manai. But I think, you mentioned Charlie in terms of what he can offer in terms of Arouge and Keenan Davis. I'd say he's probably closer build to Keenan Davis, isn't he, than he is to Arouge. So that might be the thinking behind it.
very similar to Keenan Davis. I'd say stature, way he plays, strong, good build-up play, can finish. I just don't think I don't think he can progress it as well as Davis. I don't think he can hold on to it as well as Davis. And I don't know, he scored goals there before, but he hasn't gone well at Turkey. But we've got to give him a chance, and maybe it's a really good option off the bench if we're chasing a game. Get him and Davis up front, get some long passes into them, cause some madness. So look, and like you said, he knows the club, so let's give him a chance and let's get behind him.
For sure. GT official says he's never been the same since his leg break, I think. But before then, he was classed this level. It will be interesting to say the least. It is a fascinating deal, this one. I really don't know what to expect. But as Rio says, he is a handful from what he can remember. So that's one that's coming through the door. Slaven Bilic has got his striker. Whether that is the man he wanted, we'll have to wait and see. But certainly, it's a body through the door. Moving on to the next rumour, kind of the agenda, is Antony, a winger who's been linked over the past few days. I think it was I've got the website who was linked, but he's a Brazilian winger who looks really decent. I know. I don't want to get sucked in, Charlie, but the YouTube compilation is just
get sucked in. Enjoy it, embrace it.
Weird.
It's January.
I think we've done this channel for since 2017, and not every Watford transfer, but a lot of transfers, rumours, you then have to go on YouTube and have a little look. And I remember thinking when Richarlison joined, oh my God, this guy is going to be unbelievable. He was really good. Pedro, oh my God. So if Antony's any half decent, then we've got a chance. But I guess you probably haven't seen a lot of him, I haven't, and neither Sam. But the type of player and the profile of player, is that something we should be looking at?
Yeah, I'm being sucked in. I really like the look of this man. I mean, mainly because what did Bilic want? He wanted a winger. So this would be a winger. Profile really good. He's 21, like a left attacking forward, kind of similar position to Sarr. Really, really good out of possession, chasing people down, regains high up the pitch. He's got a zinger of a strike, likes to strike from long range. I just think really good. I like to think a Helena Costa deal. He plays in the Portuguese Premier League, he's been doing well there, so he's got that resale value on. I really like this one. Slav wanted a winger, fits the perfect profile for a Pozzo, Manga, Costa player, so let's get him in.
Let's get him in. And just to add to that, so it was an exclusive from transfers.com. So Watford have been locked in talks with Premier League side Ucko this January for a winger Antony. Personal terms not expected to be a problem for the 21-year-old Brazilian Championship club. Just needs to sign off the finalities of the deal, and he'll be a Watford player. Someone said, "What are his strengths?" And someone replied, "Doing a 360 spin on his left foot over and over again." But Sam, that sort of, what would you add to that in terms of what Charlie's mentioned? Is that a player we need to be getting in? Bilic said he wanted a winger. I guess we are getting him that winger. With Matheus Martins, obviously we'll have to see what happens with Sarr. You could see a big coming in on deadline day, but at the minute we've got Sarr, Matheus Martins, and Antony in the mix as well.
Ken Sema coming back as well.
Sema coming back.
You can't complain when there's flair coming to Watford. I think it makes it more enjoyable to watch. I think it offers us something that a lot of Championship clubs perhaps don't have when they target physicality. I was watching the Sheffield United Wrexham game earlier, which was a brilliant game. And Inaman in Dyer was brilliant yet again. And it just got me thinking about, obviously, Watford do have flair players, but I don't think with the exception of João Pedro, we haven't seen many of them turn it on sort of as freely as he has this season. And hopefully Antony can do that. And I think it's certainly the right profile that we're bringing in.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. We'll see how that deal progresses. Moving on to the next one, which is Wesley Hoedt. Wesley Hoedt? I think that's how you pronounce it. So he, obviously the former Southampton centre-back, according to Andrew French, is pretty much done deal, right? So that's another centre-back through the door. From what I can remember, wasn't amazing at Premier League level. And Antony, called you Antony, Charlie, bloody hell. Charlie. But Is it a good signing in terms of, again, I know we look at the profile of player, and I haven't seen him since he's moved abroad, but is a centre-back what we need? Another one?
I don't know, on yesterday's evidence, perhaps. I think the one thing about him which I was quite encouraged with is that he's left-footed.
Yeah.
So bringing a bit of balance. We know obviously what's happening with Courtney Hawes. We haven't had that left centre back all season. So Craig Cathcart's kind of been playing on his left. He's 28. He's played for Holland before. He's playing for Anderlecht this season. The form doesn't look good. I think he's had kind of 2 clean sheets in 15 for Anderlecht. Quite a tall player, good long-range passing, which Ryan Porteous is quite good at. I always said from the beginning of the window, like centre defence is kind of the area which we need to strengthen in. So I don't see this as being a bad thing at all. I think if it's a low risk move coming in and he's kind of could be an upgrade, then I think it could be a smart bit of business. But yeah, don't ask a Southampton fan because I think he had a bit of a tour. And he's very, very good looking. He's an absolute worthy.
Beautiful. I know. We've actually got, him and Porteous. Jesus, the jawline's unbelievable. Beard as well, fantastic. I have to say, I really like the look of Porteous. I hope the idea of him is going to be as good as the sort of actual outcome, because even just the interviews, like the shithousery, that is the sort of stuff that we've been missing for a while, to be honest. I do feel like with the Watford teams, maybe since whether it's Troy left, but maybe a little bit too nice. You just need a little bit of an edge, and I feel like he could bring that. But Sam, centre back wise, with Wesley Hoedt coming in, 28-year-old Dutch international, left-footed from Anderlecht. Comment from Antony though, saying he's been a bit of a problem child at Anderlecht, not played with them since November, so I'll have to check that. Antony says questions over his attitude. Antony says, I'm from Belgium, it's got the inside track. There we go. That was a gossip story, that wasn't it? That was just more get added to it. But Sam, when you hear that and when you hear all the details, what do you reckon?
Well, in terms of him coming in the first place as a centre back, I still think it hinges on whether Matty Pollock is still going out on loan or not. Because if Cindy was going to Exeter, it seemed that was a done deal. Didn't happen. We got reports yesterday morning, I think, from Football Insider that him to Aberdeen was a done deal.
And
then
Daily Mail today, I think, as well, confirmed he's done.
Yeah. And then he played the last half an hour yesterday as well. So. Yeah, so if Matty Pollock is going out on loan, we probably do need more cover in that area. But we're gonna have to try give every player who comes in a fresh slate, as we are with Brit Assombalonga that we mentioned before. And yes, questions over his attitude perhaps in Belgium, but let's hope at Watford he can have that fresh start and hit the ground running. Yeah.
For sure. We'll see. Charlotte says more players have led discipline problems. That's what we don't need. Porteous is going to be sent off at Luton. Laura said, one comment I just wanted to bring up before I forget later on the show. So back onto Assombalonga, I've just read somewhere that apparently Bilic wanted him at West Brom, according to a few of their fans I saw on Twitter. So he could be a decent option. Maybe it's that profile and what he brings in. Maybe I don't know. But from what we're reading from West Brom fans, he was a man that Slaven Bilic did want to sign, so that could be one of his signings. Ian does say he thinks Slav is the best man to sort out any discipline problems. You wouldn't mess with him, would you? So yeah, that's the other transfer rumor. Lads, when we weren't on the last show, did we touch on Troost Kong leaving?
Yeah, we spoke about it a bit.
But is there any sort of development on how we feel about that now it's done? Are we still going to miss his leadership qualities? I feel like it felt like it was the right time for him to move on in sense of his career, but what we're missing in terms of the leadership aspect, Charlie, how much of a hole is that going to be needs to be filled? Do you think? Because when Bilic did an interview with Sky this week, he said, Kong leaving, Porteous coming in is just a cosmetic change in his eyes, anyway.
Yeah, I think interesting thing about that deal that's come out a bit later than last week's video was we got a decent fee for him, around $1 million for a loan fee. He actually won on the weekend with his new team, so well in will. We know that leadership is key. He was one of the leaders. And if anyone's got the stats, it'd be interesting to know how many different players we've had play for us this season, because there must be so many of them again. Who Porteous, by the end of the season, could have 50 different players. But
it was interesting actually, Charlie. Just on that, I saw a graphic last week, or a couple of weeks ago from the Blackpool game to Sheffield United on the first day. Do you know how many players played in both of those games, from the Blackpool game and the Sheffield United game?
Go on.
4. Only 4 players played in both games. So that's how much change there's been this season.
Who were the 4? So it must have been Bachmann, Cathcart.
I think so, yeah. Saar.
Sema.
Pedro
Didn't play in the Blackpool game, though.
Sema.
Sema didn't play either.
Oh, Jesus. If anyone knows in the comments, let us know.
Yeah,
Anthony believes it's 38 this season. 38 players.
Anthony has got all the intel. Good lad.
Anthony is phenomenal, mate. It's Opta Anthony in the comments.
Mad.
It's telling though, isn't it? That I mean,
well, that's going to go up to 40 of Porteous and Hoedt, isn't it? So.
And Assombalonga.
Yeah. So it was actually a tweet from Geordie from the Rookery End, and from the game, from the players who played in the Sheffield United game on the first game and played in the Blackpool game 2 weeks ago. Bear in mind as well, 2 different managers. The only players who played in both games were Bachmann, Cathcart, Sierralta, and Saar. Everyone else was different.
That's scary, that.
Yeah, mental.
Bloody hell. Oh, God, this club, one of a kind. Look, we're coming up to deadline day, just to wrap up the show. How confident are you, Charlie, that Bilic will get the players he wants?
Well, we've got 2 days, and we need a winger and a centre midfielder.
Very hypothetical, so it's a tough one to answer. But as a fan, what's the confidence feeling at the moment with the business?
Just after yesterday's game, I think centre midfield has been such an issue for us. Like Gaspar and Bakuna playing again, and at times it just felt like we weren't playing with a centre midfield at all. Look, we've seen the club tweet this week showing João Pedro on the grass, Loser on the grass, the boys coming back. So we have got players there, but I'd love, it's not all about experience, but I'd love that championship experience centre midfielder to come. Not even doesn't have to be a starter. The Ben Watson that you love so much, Jacob, but that guy to come in, and if you played him, you knew he would just do a job. He knows what it's about, keep things ticking over. I mean, I mentioned in the last video, I think Lewis O'Brien, but he's getting linked now to West Brom, who he played with under Carlos Corberán. I think Sheffield United won him because Sander Berg's going to go to Fulham. There's got to be that Dan Bacella who went to Middlesbrough.
We should be all over those sort of ones.
So I think that is the area that we need because, and Gaspar has played above his levels for Norwich and he did okay against Blackpool, but the minute you come up against decent opposition, I think that was really, really telling. We need someone else next to Chowdhury. Hopefully, Loser's going to be back in 2 or 3 games, but I think that centre midfielder would mean we've had a very good window. How do you guys rate the window so far?
I think the centre midfielders, I don't want to go as far to say I'm pinning our hopes of a decent playoff run on that, but I do think the centre mid position, it could be a complete game changer for us, I think. It could be really the sign that kicks us on. I mean, not to go back to my man, but, Super Ben Watson came in, changed the dynamic, freed up so many players. I know it's a different team, but you just see the impact a really good holding midfielder can have. It doesn't have to be a holding midfielder, just a decent midfielder for the Championship. If I was going to rate this window out of 10, though, that is because you look at Porteous, you think that's a great signing, just in terms of profile. Wesley Hoedt come out of nowhere. I'd probably, with Assombalonga coming in, if Antony gets over the line, I'd probably put it at a 7. Without the midfielder, I don't think it can be more than a 7.
You got to remember Ishmael. You got to remember Ishmael Kone as well, who started really, really brightly.
Martins.
Kone got hooked yesterday, didn't he? At half time, and he got brought off early against Blackpool. He did try and play the Hollywood pass before their second goal yesterday. So I really like the look of Kone, and I think he's one of the only players who can turn on the ball and make things happen. I would happily stick him next to Chowdhury, but again, he's still young. So
someone Kiembe to come back in, who, Kiembe actually got had quite a few critics, but I actually think you're seeing what happens when he isn't in the team, is what I would say. Who would you drop out of loser? Kone, Chowdhury in there, 3 losers to come back in, but obviously we don't know how long that's going to be. Sam, what would you rate the transfer window at the moment?
I'd give it an 8, to be honest with you. I really like the players that we brought in. I think obviously there's areas that still need working on, but we've got 48 hours to do that. I think probably if we don't get, as you say, the midfielder in, I'd probably drop it to a 7. But I really like the profile of play. I really like Porteous. I really like Arouge. I really like Kone, albeit he's been a bit off the boil in the last 2 games. Martins, I think we've seen glimpses so far, but it seems like there's still more gears he could go up, and hopefully Antony can come in as well and do well for us. So I think it's been quite good, to be honest.
I think it's been good. I just think for what we need at the moment, and whilst I think Martins is a great prospect, and there's some players who will be a great prospect, I don't know if we've got. I think Kone, again, a great player to bring in. Do you know what I mean? Those signings that just hit the ground running straight away. And I just don't want us to get in the position where we're asking so much of these younger players that then it's kind of not stunting their development, but they're almost putting too much pressure on them to deliver what they can do, if that makes sense. Because I feel like it's going to happen with Kone, where it gets to the point where we're relying so much on him to create or do something or have that spark from central midfield, that then it's kind of like, well, we're asking a bit too much. We'll see. I don't know. Charlie, what would you rate out of 10?
Yeah, I think if you listed them all out, and I think probably before the Middlesbrough game, everyone would say 8 or 9, like it's been a stunning window. But I just think it's those areas, and I think what you said about centre midfield is bang on. Yeah, we're going to see. I'd probably give it a 7 at the moment. We got linked earlier in the window with Ben Whiteman, which kind of got hushed, but he's exactly the kind of player that we need. Lewis Baker, who scored for Stoke yesterday, that championship experience, someone like that. Do you think we'll bring a centre midfielder in? Agree to disagree, Sam. By a centre midfielder.
What do you think of the comments, by the way? We'll see what people
I disagree. I think it will be Assombalonga will get done. I think Antony will get done, and I think that's business done.
Jacob?
I don't want to be. I'm going to go no, because then if it can only go up from there. Do you know what I mean? If you go no, and there's one that surprised you on deadline day, do you actually think? So I disagree, Charlie. But do you think there will be a deadline day deal that surprises us, in or out? Do you think Sarr could be? Sarr feels like the player who could go with a last minute bid, but Watford seem to be holding out for about 25 million.
Yeah, I don't know. I've got a funny feeling that there might be some activity. I don't want to get people too excited watching Sky Sports News.
Charlie.
I don't know anything, but I just think, especially with Mangarin in his black book, I think with Slav saying what he wants so openly, and we have been really active. We haven't splashed a lot of cash, like Porteous reported 300k. We haven't spent any money in January. And knowing how much Pozzo wants us to be promoted, I think we could see some movements next couple of days. And Ismail Assar, we've talked about this 100 times, but yeah, I think if we could get an offer that the club would take, I don't know, I think we'd all agree that we should take it. And that would be fascinating to see how our team lines up, because he's obviously one of the best players in our team, but I do think we accommodate him a lot of time. Could we go 2 up front with Keenan Davies and Arouge? I don't know, it's going to be I love all this shit. Like, it's an exciting couple of days. Hopefully, we get some.
That hasn't even happened. It's just beautiful. I see what the guys are saying for deadline day, but we'll try and get something out for you, even if it's just like a quick reaction to deadline day shutting. If there's any last minute deals or anything, Sam, do you reckon we'll do any other business?
Nah, as I say, I think it'll be business done after Assombalonga and after Antony comes in as well. I hope he can get the Antony deal over the line, because I think particularly if Ismail Assar does go, I'm not really sure where he would go. I would have said if perhaps Bielsa went to Everton in the end, I could have perhaps seen them putting the money in, but maybe Aston Villa, now that it's unlikely that they'll get Deulofeu.
I saw Bournemouth linked with him. That would break my heart. See Ismail Assar rock up. And I can't imagine seeing him another relegation on his CV. It'd be,
to be fair, him and Ouattara on either side would be pretty dangerous. I don't know. I could see Sarr going. I think if a team puts 20 million down, he'll go. because I think Watford will just cash in. I think has he got 18 months left?
Yeah.
On his deal. Probably would be the right time to cash in, to be honest with you, but
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see.
Player ratings?
Sorry?
Player ratings?
Player ratings. Wrap up with some player ratings. So we'll fire it over between Charlie. I know Charlie's normally hosting the questions with the Agree With This Girl. I'm going to host the player ratings. And do you know what? Jim does say, Sam, what was start like yesterday, so we'll send the player ratings. So I'll kick it off with Daniel Batman with you, Charlie.
8. I thought he was superb. If it weren't for him, we'd have lost 5-0.
Man of the match?
Not of the match. Watford's man of the match.
Man of the match. Watford's player of the match. Okay, 8 for Backman. And let us know, as we're going, let us know in the comment section. And if you're watching this back, let us know what you think of the player ratings. Dan Backman gets an 8. Sam, we're going to go with Hamza Chowdhury. Oh, God, that's unfair, actually. No.
Why are you asking Sam?
What am I asking Sam? Do you know what, Sam? Go for it.
I'll give him a 5.
Is that a 4? And it's been pushed up 1.
I've pushed it up 1. Look, I think he was partially at fault for the second goal. He stepped out a bit too early. Unnatural position. He was playing at centre half when he should have been playing in centre mid. But I thought he was rash at times and gave the ball away too easily. So I'll give him a 5.
From centre back. We'll go with the 5. So Batman's 8, Chowdhury's 5, Ciarauta, Charlie. I think he's glad it's come to you.
Yeah. A 4. I thought he was erratic again, bad decision making, maybe not busting a gut as much as possible. Sometimes I don't know if he was injured for that second goal. Him and Chowdhury bumped into each other at one point at a header. Not a good day for Franny, I'm afraid.
What was sorry? I think Cowan, you said what was the rating?
4.
4. Okay, so the back line's on a total of 8 players. Cathcart, Sam.
4 as well. Wasn't really, again, probably could have done better with the second goal, but didn't really impose any threats for Cameron Archer and Chuba Akpom. They completely destroyed us at the back. So 4 as well.
So 4 for all 3 centre backs. Moving on to Hassan Kamara, Charlie. I wondered which one to give you there.
Hassan, what's happened, mate? I'd give Hassan a 3. That first goal, just kick it out, take it all. I even think on the line he could have. I think his head was gone. I think the ball was travelling slowly, and positionally he wasn't great. So a 3.
3 for Kamara. On the other side, Sam had to go off Jaffrey with it looks like a hamstring injury.
4.
4.
Probably. Yeah, 4. Not too much to say. Yeah.
What I would say, and I think this is a great point from Sam, they should all be getting 7 and above at this crucial time of the season. I think that's a fair comment. The performances should be better. There are off days. No one's, we're not expecting perfection, but these are pretty low. 2 midfielders. I'll chuck over Ishmael Kone to you, Charlie.
I thought probably like 5. He got hooked again, and for the second goal, he did try and play an absolute Hollywood through ball, which easily got cut out and they won. But I think maybe his confidence been knocked the last 2 days. I do like the way he takes the ball when he can get past people. So I still see things that I like from him. We need to get behind him. I say this for everyone, but back him. But maybe not his best day. Probably a 5.
5. Gaspar, Sam.
I'll give him a. I did say before the call, actually, I thought he did okay. Charlie disagreed with me.
No.
I'd give him a 5. I'd give him a 5 as well. At least, I thought he tried. At least did a bit of running.
5.
Give him a 5.
It's getting to the point with Gaspar. You do feel a bit sorry for him that he's still play centre mid. Front 3, we'll go with Ismail Assar, Charlie.
4.
4.
Ooh,
Sam,
generous.
Sam Martins.
I'd give Mines a 4 as well. He's got a score. I think that's very, very generous on Sar.
Go on.
Charlie, you take Martins. I'll take Sar. I'd give Sar a 3, to be honest with you. I've never seen a player less run in his life or show worse body language in my life. I know sometimes he really, it's part of his game where he just explodes into life, but he just showed zero interest yesterday, and it was quite frustrating because we needed someone like him to take the game by the scruff of the neck. But not good enough at all.
And then Mateus Martins, Charlie, you give him.
I can't believe you gave him a 4. I thought Martin's just the best he's played for us. I thought, again, you were there, so you've got a better view. But don't get me wrong, he's got to score that. It's a good chance. But I thought he looked our best attacking threat, took the ball in tight areas, running at people. I thought I was actually really encouraged by Martins because I didn't know how he's only 19 still, but I thought he was okay.
I think there's a player there. He's just a little bit raw, isn't he, at the moment? Yeah. I think there's a player there. But so Sar's a 3, Martins a. Did you say a 5, Charlie?
I gave him a 7. But...
7. Sorry. Wait, you know what? I think that was Sam's score and then your score, and I put the average. I was like, so 7 for Martins. So just behind Backman, and then moving on to Keenan Davis, who came off obviously for a rouge. Sam,
tough one because he only played half the game, didn't get much service. Yeah, good to have him back as well. Some nice touches in there. I do think that regardless of the score, I'd reckon it was always the plan to take him off at half time.
Yeah, he did say that. Bilic did say that.
Oh, did he say that? Yeah. So I'll give him a 5. 5,
okay. And then moving on to the substitute.
I'm looking at Keenan Davis. Oh, seeing how many touches he had, because I thought he had 12 touches yesterday. And to be fair, Adeyemo only had 11. I thought it was going to be less.
Bloody hell. Adeyemo came on for Keenan Davis. What are we giving Adeyemo, Charlie? Put himself about?
Yeah, I thought he put himself about. I thought that effort was, I wish it went in, but it was like a good strike on the edge. I thought we came out the second half and there was a bit of effort. It only lasted it wasn't sustained, but I thought he'd done all right. And he created a good chance, which he should have done better of a finish after that. Probably a 6.
6. Bakuna, Sam?
Game was gone by that point by the time he came on. It became sort of a bit of a dead rubber in the second half, but was adequate in there, I suppose, probably a 5.
And I'll throw this one over to you then, a rouge. I know you quite like the look of him.
I thought he was brilliant. I thought he was the main positive yesterday. He stretched the Middlesbrough defence. They were always worried about him looking over their shoulders. He looks a real player. I really like his physique. I think you mentioned a bit like Vidra as well, Jacob, would you say?
I think Charlie, actually, yeah. I do agree with Charlie on that. Vidra is the sort of player I look at him and I think, those sort of little runs in behind, like just trying to get on the defender's shoulder.
Yeah, I think we really missed João Pedro and Loser in that respect yesterday. Someone to pick him out. I'd give him a 7.
Yeah, Cavi agrees with you as well. And then I think Pollock was only on for 20 minutes, really, so not worth rating him. But we will rate Asprius Charlie.
He didn't have a lot of time, did he?
No,
he ran around, made a few fouls. Give him a generous 5. Any guesses who had the most touches for us yesterday?
Batman. No. If I was being serious, I'd probably go with Gaspar.
I'd go Kamara.
No, Craig Cathcart.
Wow. What? Oh, blimey.
You're thinking if Loser's playing, he should be having over 100. Cathcart had 79 yesterday.
Yeah, definitely. Jacob, what would you give Slaven Bilic?
From yesterday?
Yeah.
I don't think there's a lot he could have. Well, I don't think there's a lot he could have done about the goals. What I would say is we didn't look well coached, but whether that's a player thing or a tactical thing is the bigger question. I'm going to side with the manager more on this one in terms of the individual errors, the goals we conceded. I think any coach is going to be thinking, "What am I supposed to do with those goals?" I've been critical of Bilic's subs in previous weeks, but again, is there a lot more he could have done with the substitutes? I'm not sure of what he's got. So if I was going to rate him, with the result, you can't rate him really more than a 6. So 5, I think.
Fair enough. Yeah, probably fair to be fair. Yeah.
I'm just trying to think in the sort of grab the bigger picture. I was just, all the different factors, and I was thinking, whilst we did play poorly, when you look at the goals, is it a lot he could have done about it? It wasn't like a tactic. It wasn't tactical, but then I don't know. I'll go 5. Otherwise, I'll be here all night just debating it. But I don't know. Not great. If you've missed the chat, we did have a chat about Bilic and kind of the debate at the moment. But I think it was someone did like a pros, just to wrap up, someone did a pros and cons. I think it was Henry on Twitter. And he did like not a pros and cons list of things that on the Bilic debate. And I'll just list them quickly. So he goes, the Bilic debate is very interesting. And to be fair, I think both sides are right to an extent, which probably says more about the culture of the past decade and how fans have become normalised to the club. He said, back in Bilic, 20 games is a too short a time to judge a manager. The injury crisis is beyond belief. We've got a new scouting department. There's nothing drastically bad yet, and he's given youth a chance. He then goes to say, counteracting that, it feels like he's trying to prove a point rather than win. Subs are bizarre. Players don't look coached. He doesn't think we'd win in the playoffs, and we haven't really got a recognisable style.
Yeah, I think
that's harsh without the right players. Like he's had to adapt.
Yeah, that's the bit.
The style when we're playing three at the back and Gaspar and Bacuna instead of midfield.
Yeah, there's not a lot you can do with that. And also, there's a great point, Charlie, in the sense that you're not going to have a game like Norwich every week. And if we're honest, Norwich were well off it when we played them away from home. In terms of they were under a new manager, they were playing terribly. And we not got away with it because we played well and it was a great result. But you know, one of those where it's like the best Norwich team that we're seeing, or maybe the Norwich team under Wagner, it might be a little bit different. Anyway, hypotheticals, time for another day. We've been going for an hour. Thanks to everyone who's watched. Over 100 people watched today, so really do appreciate it live as well. So thanks so much for getting involved. Make sure you go and check out Sam and Charlie on Twitter, at just below them. You can check us out on WD18 at WD18 fans on Twitter, Instagram. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Check out Sam Instant Reaction if you want to see what he thought straight after the game. And we'll be back hopefully on deadline day to give you our reaction to the end of the window. So we'll see you then. Thanks for watching. Up the Hornets. Take care. Bye-bye.